When you say jazz, I think most people's minds just jump straight to, fast, loud, kind of chaotic, right? It's all about speed.
Oh, totally. All speed and high energy. But that's really only half the story.
And we're going to challenge that idea today. We're talking about the jazz ballad, where being slow is actually the superpower.
Exactly. I love that, a superpower. It's a style where slowing way, way down lets you communicate the deepest emotions. It's also how you show real technical mastery.
So is a test of control then?
It's the ultimate test. Think of it like this. Anyone can try to run across a tightrope, but walking across it slowly, deliberately, with perfect balance, that's incredibly difficult. That's the jazz ballad.
Okay, so let's unpack the history a little. Where did these quiet, super slow songs even come from? I'm guessing they didn't start out as this intense emotional thing.
No, not at all. They emerged in the early 20th century. Basically, musicians started taking popular songs of the day.
Like what kind of songs?
Often sentimental folk tunes or maybe a romantic song from Broadway show. And they just intentionally slowed the tempo way, way down, taking these known, catchy tunes and just putting them in slow motion.
So what was the goal? Was it just for contrast?
At first, yeah, it was a really intimate moment in a set full of fast, driving swing music, but it very quickly became something much more sophisticated.
How so?
Well, the early innovators, especially in places like New Orleans and New York, they started weaving these really deep blues elements into the arrangements.
To give them that soulful, heavy atmosphere.
Exactly. And that's where the mission really shifted. The whole purpose of the music changed.
Right. It stopped being just music for dancing.
That's it. The focus moved completely away from that. Musicians realized these slow pieces were perfect for showing off their artistry. I mean, you can't hide any technical flaws when you're playing that slowly.
There's just too much space.
Too much space. It forced them to convey huge feelings without a ton of notes. Every single sound had to be chosen so carefully.
Okay, let's get into the musical DNA then. If you're listening to a ballad, the first thing that hits you is that tempo. How slow are we actually talking here?
We're talking exceptionally slow, often really, really low beats per minute, sometimes half the speed of a normal swing tune.
Wow.
And that extreme slowness, it creates this incredible sense of space. Gravity, even. Because the music moves so leisurely, every single note just hangs there in the air.
So you can hear every little detail.
Every nuance, every tiny change in the tone of an instrument, it all becomes significant.
So if it's that slow, how does the melody not just sound boring?
That's where the idea of playing in a lyrical fashion comes in.
Lyrical fashion, what does that mean?
Think about someone singing a beautiful poem. The melody is trying to copy that natural expressive flow.
Yeah.
It's not about flashy, fast notes. It's about the beauty of the line itself.
So the main goal is pure communication, emotional honesty, telling a story or painting a picture of a specific feeling like sadness or nostalgia.
Precisely. And what's really interesting is that even when a musician is playing an instrumental version, say on a sax, they're almost certainly thinking about the lyrics in their head.
No way.
Yeah. They use those words to guide every single choice they make. How loud to play, how to end a phrase. It's kind of like method acting, but for jazz.
And with all that time and space, you can start to, play with time itself. Which brings us to this key technique, rubato.
Rubato. This is one of the coolest parts. It's Italian for stolen time.
Stolen time. I like that.
It's a technique where the performer will intentionally speed up or slow down just for a moment.
So they're not sticking rigidly to the beat. It's like a purposeful hesitation.
Exactly. Imagine a movie scene that goes into slow motion right before a character says something important. That's rubato. It builds tension or a sense of deep thought before everyone just smoothly returns to that steady pulse.
That sounds incredibly hard for the rest of the band to follow.
It takes so much listening, so much trust. And speaking of that, the flip side of all this sound is, of course, silence.
Which is used as a tool here, right?
A powerful one. Because the notes are so far apart, every sound is magnified. The silence in between gives you, the listener, time to really absorb what you just heard. When a musician leaves a gap, you're just hanging on, waiting for what comes next.
It's a dramatic pause.
A very deliberate one. And it puts all this focus on the soloists. So if you had to picture a ballad, what's the first instrument that pops into your head?
It has to be the saxophone, no question.
It is the undisputed king of the jazz ballad, and it's almost entirely because its sound is so close to the human voice. Guys like Coleman Hawkins, Ben Webster, they pioneered that standard tone. Thick, breathy, and just incredibly warm.
And that warmth, that's achieved with specific techniques, right? Things you can actually listen for.
Absolutely. One of the big ones is a wide vibrato, especially at the end of a long note.
Vibrato being that little waver in the pitch.
Right. It adds this feeling of longing or romance. It's like a voice trembling with emotion.
And what about that? That really soft, almost whispering sound you sometimes hear.
That's called subtoning. It's a technique for creating a soft, kind of fuzzy, really intimate texture. The player is blowing just enough air to make the reed vibrate, but not enough for a full, loud sound.
So it sounds like they're whispering a secret right into your ear.
That's a perfect way to put it, especially on the lower notes of a tenor sax. It takes years of practice just to get the breath control for that.
Okay, let's switch to brass. Trumpet. Totally different sound. How do they get that intimate ballad feel?
They focus on clarity and melody, but the really fascinating thing is how they use mutes to change their sound. And you can't talk about that without talking about Miles Davis.
Of course. The Harmon mute.
The Harmon mute, that metal mute with the stem sticking out. He used it to create this thin, kind of buzzy, just deeply haunting sound.
That sound is the mid-century ballad. It feels like something straight out of an old black and white movie.
It totally redefined the style. The thinness of that sound contrasts so beautifully with the warm piano or bass behind it. It just sounds lonely, contemplative.
And if they want a mellower sound without a mute,
Then they often reach for the flugelhorn.
why the flugelhorn? What's the difference?
It's basically a bigger trumpet, but the way the tubing is shaped gives it a much rounder, softer sound naturally. But whether it's trumpet or flugelhorn, the key is always extreme breath control. Holding those long, quiet notes without any shaking. That takes incredible lung power.
Speaking of breath control, let's talk about the ultimate storytellers, the vocalists.
Vocalists are just crucial here. The masters, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, they were experts at using phrasing to interpret the meaning of the words.
So they weren't just singing the notes on the page.
Not at all. They would often depart from the strict rhythm, maybe stretch out a word or come in a little bit late. It makes the song feel less like a performance and more like a natural conversation.
Or like reading an emotional letter out loud.
Exactly. And they use dynamics so skillfully. Whispering a line, belting out the climax. You feel the whole range of human emotion. And that's why you almost never hear scat singing in a ballad.
Right, because that's about showing off your technique.
Exactly. Ballads are for clarity and feeling. The story is everything.
Okay, so if the vocalist is the storyteller, the piano's providing the setting, the foundation.
The harmonic foundation. That's the perfect term. The pianist plays these lush, expanded chords, adding extra notes to make them sound richer, more complex. And they use the sustain pedal all the time
To let the notes ring out and blend together.
to create this beautiful wash of sound. And sometimes at the big emotional peak of the song, they'll use block chords.
Which is when they play these thick clusters of notes with both hands.
Right. It gives the song this huge, almost orchestral sound for a moment. And because everything is so slow, the pianist's timing is what holds the entire band together.
And then you have the rhythm section, the bass and drums, who have to be so quiet. How do they support everything without getting in the way?
They have to be incredibly subtle. Drummers will almost always switch from sticks to wire brushes.
Ah, that swishing sound.
Yes. They use these circular motions on the snare drum to create that soft, continuous sound. It's like a rhythmic carpet that just sits under everything else.
And the bass player.
The bass player has to be so deliberate, a minimalist approach, usually just one deep note on every beat or maybe every other beat.
The walking bass line, but a very slow walk.
A very, very slow walk. It makes the music feel grounded, steady, but never heavy. It's all about discipline.
It sounds like to pull this off, you need a really solid blueprint so everyone knows where they are. Let's talk about that structure.
For sure. Most classic jazz ballads follow a standard form called AABA. It's usually 32 bars or measures of music.
AABA, like a predictable story structure.
Exactly. The A sections have the main melody, the part everyone recognizes.
In the B section, what's that called?
That's the bridge. It's a temporary shift. The harmony changes. The mood might change a little.
Yeah.
It provides some contrast before leading you right back to that familiar A section.
And that structure is what allows for improvisation.
It's the map that lets them explore. So a typical performance starts with the head, that's the main melody, played straight. Then the soloists take turns improvising over that same chord progression. And it usually ends by playing the head one last time.
A lot of these songs are decades old, right? We call them the standards.
Yep. Pieces like Body and Soul or Misty, written by composers like George Gershwin or Duke Ellington. They're called standards because they're just part of the core repertoire. Nearly every jazz musician learns them.
Which is how two musicians who have never even met can get on a stage and play a beautiful ballad together instantly.
It's a shared language. It's the foundation. But of course, modern musicians are always finding ways to revolve the form.
How are artists today pushing the boundaries of such a traditional style?
They might bring in electronic sounds, maybe some unusual instruments, or they might play with irregular time signatures, moving away from that standard 44 beat to make it feel a little more unsettled.
But if they change all that, how do we still know it's a ballad?
The core values have to be there. It doesn't matter what technology you use. The music still has to prioritize that lyrical feeling, that intense, deliberate, emotional expression. If you lose that, it's just a slow song. It's not a jazz ballad.
So what does this all mean for someone listening or maybe someone trying to learn this music? It sounds incredibly difficult.
It is the ultimate challenge. It takes so much technical control to play that slowly without a single mistake. Students have to listen to the old recordings over and over again to really get the phrasing.
I've heard a lot of teachers say you have to sing the melody first.
Absolutely. You have to sing it, learn the lyrics, you have to internalize the story the composer was trying to tell. At the end of the day, playing a ballad is about finding your own voice and having the courage to be that honest, that vulnerable, and just let people hear you.
That quiet power of a slow melody. It really is the heart of the jazz experience. It proves that sometimes the slowest path is actually the most profound.
Indeed. It forces you to think about the notes you don't play just as much as the ones you do.
Which raises a question for you to think about. If a ballad is defined by its emotional depth, what personal story would you tell the only tool you had was slowness?